Hello and welcome back to the Intuitive Writer podcast and YouTube channel. I'm your host, apocalypse author Camille Picott. This bi-monthly show is dedicated to the stories behind the stories. I share an intimate insider's view of my private intuitive writing practice, where I co-create my novels with the universe by channeling in characters and stories. I am so excited that you're here. And today we're going to be talking about my latest work in progress. And I'm currently working on book 2 in the Jesus Christ Zombie Killer series. Today we're going to be talking about 3 characters that make an appearance in this new novel. We're going to be talking about Jesus, we're going to be talking about Mother Mary, and we're going to be talking about Mary Magdalene. So I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm going to back the timeline up till, beginning of July, mid-July. I was just finishing the book of John. That's the first book in the series. And I mentioned before in another podcast how tired I was when I finished that book. It was just a huge energy. I was totally just wiped out. I was creatively wiped out by the time I finished that. And I knew I really needed a couple of weeks off to rest and recharge. But the problem was that I felt the second book really pushing, and the way this manifests, it's actually like this physical pressure in my body, and I could feel it, and I knew it was going to be big. I knew it was going to be demanding, and when I felt it coming, I was just like, I'm not ready. That's what I told it. I said, look, I am super excited to write you, but I am not ready. I'm exhausted. I worked really hard on this last book, and I just need a break. I just need a break. So it backed off a little bit, but it was interesting. I did take a couple of weeks off, but while I had that time off, I think because I wasn't 100% committed and working on another novel, I had all these other energies come forward, and they were like, hey, if you're not busy, why don't you just start working on me? I had a couple other Undead Ultra stories come through, and I always knew that I had more stories to write in that series. So it was kind of cool to have a lot more details on those start downloading. I had another brand new apocalypse series show up, and I was like, oh, I can't take it. It's a super cool concept, and I'm totally on board to write it, but I told it, like, look, you are in line. You got to get in line behind Jesus. You got to get in line behind Undead Ultra. You got to get in line behind Zombiness Invasion. So it was, I guess, on an energetic and inspirational side of things, it was still very active, even though I was technically not writing and trying to rest. The stories weren't really having it. They really wanted me, they were being quite a slave driver, I guess is what I'm saying. They wanted me back and at the keyboard and working my little butt off. So after a couple of weeks, I finally said, all right, look guys, there's a lot of stuff moving around here right now. I can only do one at a time. I'm only one person. And I'm really dedicated to doing the second book in the Jesus Christ Zombie Killer series. And at the time, I thought it was going to be called Book of Magda. So if you've heard me say Book of Magda, I thought that was going to be the title. And the reason I thought that was going to be the title was while I was working on book 1, I saw a very clear vignette for Magda. And it was like a thread of a very large spool. So I didn't see the whole spool, but I definitely saw the thread, and I saw a very clear storyline that we were going to be exploring with her. And so if you finished book 1, you'll know that the epilogue is actually written from Magda's point of view, and I did that on purpose because I saw her coming, and I thought, oh, well, this will be perfect. It'll be a little springboard. I'll have her tell the epilogue, and then we'll jump right into her in the next book. But that's not what happened. So this is really interesting. So as soon as I told the story, okay, I'm ready, I've had my break, I've told all the other stories out there, they need to get in the queue, they need to get in line. This is like Disneyland over here, you guys. These are those lines that go like 12 times around the Matterhorn. That's what it feels like. Anyway, but yeah, so I told them they had to all get in line, and Book of Magda, like, I'm ready, let's do it. And I hadn't even started writing yet, and this is a little funny, I guess a little personal, but I was in the bathroom, and I heard Jesus say, "This is my story." And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I hadn't seen that yet. I knew he was going to be a point of view character at some point. I didn't know which book he was going to come in, but he said, this is my story. And I said, okay. I signed up for this, so okay. So I spent quite a bit of time meditating and pulling in the arc that he wants to see in this story, and it's really interesting. So the arc that we're going to be dealing with is the pressure of realizing that you're the son of a god, right? Like, this is a big thing, right? I mean, here he thought he was the son of Joseph, and it turns out he's not the son of Joseph, but the son of Yahweh. And in old history, Yahweh was the storm god. So it's kind of a huge thing to find out that you're half man, half God. And the pressure of that, and having to reconcile yourself to this new identity, and how I guess the fabric of your world just gets rocked when you make a big discovery about yourself, especially a discovery that comes with a lot of obligations and maybe takes you down a path that you were never ready for. And so this is what I was seeing for his character, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be really beautiful to write. I'm excited to write that. All right, now this is the part where things really start getting interesting. So after working with this Jesus energy and seeing that this was part of the story that's going to come through in this novel, what happened was the story started moving backwards. And I've talked before how I don't receive things in order. This is a perfect example of that. So I got this one story arc, and then what I started receiving were things about his mother, Mary, and that his story really began with her, right? She conceives a child from the storm god, and there's a huge story there, and it was really interesting. And as Mary started coming in, that's when I started referring to book 2 as Book of Mary. I thought, oh, okay, so there's no Magda in this. It's just going to be Mary and Jesus, probably these alternating points of view, and actually alternating timelines too is what I was seeing. Because if we're going back to the beginning, when Jesus is conceived, that's a much that timeline's quite a bit back compared to where we leave the end of book 1, right in the middle of a zombie apocalypse in ancient Galilee. So I was starting to see that she's going to be this really important character, and there's going to be a whole string of scenes with her before Jesus is even born. And I had this really powerful experience with her energy. I was driving home one day with my husband and my daughter, and I just got hit with this really intense wave of emotion. I felt so sad, and I felt like I just needed to start crying. And as I was sitting there feeling these really strong emotions, I was wondering, like, what the heck's going on? I just had a really nice dinner with my family. My daughter's in the back of the car singing her heart out, and I'm talking with my husband, like, why am I feeling so sad all of a sudden? And this happens sometimes. I realize, like, oh, something's talking to me. Okay, it's not really me. There's something that's trying to get my attention, and by sharing feelings with me. And so I had a moment where I just said, silently to this energy, look, I'm with my family right now. I can't talk to you, so we need to talk later. And as soon as I did that, it backed off. It had my attention. And as soon as I got home, I went and I found some quiet time in my meditation space, and I said, okay, I know someone's there, and I'm ready to talk now. So like we can talk now. And as soon as I did that, I had this these were physical sensations. It was like this physical sensation of being choked. It was like a pain in my stomach, like someone had their foot and they were pressing really hard on my stomach. And then with these physical sensations came this like soul crunching sorrow, like just this sadness, this deep sorrow. And I realized that I was feeling both the emotional sadness and the physical sadness, this like crippling pain from this sorrow. And I'm like, who's there? You know, who's there? Who's sharing this with me? And it was Mary, and she was sharing what it felt like to lose a child. And it was horrible. It was really, really sad to feel this pain that wasn't my own. But of course, being a mother, I can totally understand and imagine, you know, how a part of your soul would die when your child died. And part of the sorrow is part of her story arc, like how painful it is to lose your child. And I guess it's universal, right? No matter what circumstance you lose your child, it's horrible. But of course, Jesus died in a very horrible, painful way. So we're definitely going to be exploring that pain at some point with her character. I'm not sure it's going to be this novel. I think it's going to be a novel later in the series. But up front, this was like the first thing she delivered. Like, this pain really needs to come through. So I was like, okay, like, I get it. I'm holding it. It's hard. It's big. It's heavy. Like, I get it. Okay, but we'll do it. We'll do it. And so, you know, moving on and on this writing journey, and I started to really pull in her story and channel it through. I had a couple nights where I was up really late, bringing in her story. And what really became apparent to me as I moved deeper into this process was, this is very uncomfortable to say, I'm just going to let you know this, that the story that I was receiving was the beautiful, amazing Virgin Mary, like actually getting de-virginized in my story with the God Yahweh. And it was very uncomfortable. But, you know, sometimes I fight stories for weeks and months, but the fight, I don't fight the way I used to. I just sat with that uncomfortability and was like, okay, I guess this is what we're gonna do. Okay, we're gonna do it. And then, you know, when you look at ancient myths and legends, there's actually a ton of stories out there where mortals and gods fall in love and have children. I mean, this is not an unusual concept at all. I mean, Hercules is the one that comes to mind, right? Part god, part mortal. I mean, and he's kind of this amazing hero. And even in the first novel in this series, Lady Faye, she is descendant of Apollo, and she's mostly human, but she's got a little bit of God in her as well. So this isn't a new concept. It's just not a concept that's ever been explored with this Mary Yahweh relationship. And what started coming through was this really like beautiful, sweet, tragic love story. It's really sad. Oh, sorry. It's been very beautiful to write. I actually finished it last week, and it was this is kind of a sweet story. I was probably about halfway through, and I had the radio on, and there's this John Legend song called All of Me. And I have to say that I've never really been a fan of that song. I guess I'm a jaded old married lady, because when I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, whatever, just wait 20 years. Like, that shit's not going to be so cute. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, you know, the song's just cheesy and I don't really like it. But the song came on, and I was working with this Mary and Yahweh energy, and like, there's just so much love, and it's so beautiful. And like, they just went crazy when the song came on. I had to buy it. Like, I had to buy it. And I'm not even kidding you guys. I listened to that song for like 4 days on repeat, like hours and hours of this song. And I didn't only listen to it when I was writing. I'd listen to it when I was washing the dishes. I'd listen to it in the shower. I'd listen to it in the car. Like, I was so deep in this story, and I was so just wrapped in this energy, and I couldn't stop listening to it. And it would be playing when I was writing, and I got to the end of their story. Me and John Legend and Yahweh and Mary. So when you read their story in this book, you can now you know their song. This is their song, the John Legend, All of Me. And it's kind of a joke because I was listening to it so much. I would just tell my husband, "All right, I'm headed out. I'm gonna go hang out with John Legend. Mary and Yahweh might swing by. I don't know." So that was their love song, and that's how I got through the end of writing their story. We're going to take a brief pause from our show. I just wanted to express my gratitude to all of you for being here and being part of the journey. Please like and subscribe to the Intuitive Writer Show on your favorite platform, whether that be YouTube or one of the podcast platforms. And if you are on YouTube, please hit that notification bell so you can be notified when new episodes go live. And if you'd like to support me, please consider buying and leaving a review of any of my novels, which can be found on Amazon and Audible. And also consider joining my monthly Patreon team. It's $5 a month. I host monthly live chats where you can join me and ask any questions that you'd like. And I also have other goodies that I post monthly for my members. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And let's get back to the show. So I finished the section with Mary and Yahweh, and I have to be honest, I have absolutely no idea how it's going to fit in with the rest of the book. It's like 3 or 4 sections, like really neatly sectioned off. If you've read Book of John, you'll know that the story is broken up, I think, into 6 or 7 different parts with like some unique plot threads to each one. So I know it's going to weave in a similar way, and of course we're moving back and forth on the timeline. I have no idea how it's going to fit, but the story came through so strongly and clearly. I know it's there for a reason, and I have complete faith that I'm going to figure out how I'm going to see the big picture at some point. At some point they're going to show me. I'm just getting, this is the first chunk that came through for whatever reason. So once I finished that, it was time to go forward in time. So from ancient history of when Jesus is conceived, moving forward in time to where book 1 left off. And at the end of book 1, the heroes do manage to prevent full-scale zombie apocalypse, but some zombies have escaped. And everybody knows, right? You have to kill all the zombies. If there's even one that gets away, no one's safe. So that's kind of where we leave it, where things are starting to escalate and spiral again. And like I said, I know I had received earlier this big story arc from Jesus, his character. So I made the assumption that we were opening with his character. And I had been seeing these thundering horse hooves for a while. Like, okay, the story's going to open and they're going to be riding these amazing Arabian horses. With Lady Faye's, her people are there. Soldiers that fight for her brother are there. Magda's there. Jesus is there. Judas is there. They're riding these horses, and I thought it was going to be from Jesus's point of view. So like I sat in meditation and I was trying to bring it in, and I wasn't connecting. I wasn't seeing the story. It didn't feel right. I couldn't figure out where it was going. So I had to just take a break, and I was just like, all right, guys, I'm ready. I'm ready for the next thing, and I'm not seeing it, so I hope you plan to bring it soon. I hope you plan to deliver that to me. And then not soon after, what happened was I saw these running horses again, but it was Magda. Magda was there, Mary Magdalene, and I realized, oh, she's here right now. She's moving around. I feel them. Anyway, hi. And yes, so the story is going to open with her. I'm like, oh, okay, so we've come full circle. Magda is going to be a main character in this story. And what's interesting is, first I thought the story was going to be Book of Magda, and then Mary came through so strongly, so I started calling it Book of Mary. And then I realized, oh, well, they're both Mary. Technically they're both Mary. So calling it the Book of Mary is completely appropriate. So that's currently my working title is Book of Mary. Who knows? It might change. I don't know. But that's what I'm rolling with at the moment. So I've just finished the first 3 chapters from Magda's point of view. And I love her character. And I knew I said before I had the thread, but I didn't have the whole spool. So I knew there was a much bigger story that she was going to tell. I don't think I have it all yet, but I'm starting to see a lot more of it. And what I really started seeing as I was working on those first 3 chapters, like there's a brother. She has a brother and he's a douchebag. So I could just see like the shadow of him, and I could feel the impact that he will have in her life in a very negative way. And one of the fun things about writing historical fiction is I don't have to work too hard at names. Herod, Herodias, Faye, John, Jesus, I didn't have to make up any of these names, right? I just go on Wikipedia. I find the names. So I just wondering, I wonder if historically Mary Magdalene had siblings. I have no idea. So I looked it up. It's amazing on Google. Did Mary Magdalene have siblings? You get pages and pages of answers. So this is the part that really had me tickled. The first thing that pops up is that Lazarus was Mary's brother. I'm like, oh, look at that. There he is. And I have to say, I actually had quite a few readers make comments to me about they're waiting for Lazarus to show up. And I knew that Lazarus was the one that is most famous for being raised from the dead. But I never saw him in all the work that I did in book 1. I never saw a glimpse of him. So it was interesting to me that readers are expecting him to show up when I hadn't seen a glimpse of him. I was just kind of rolling with it. And then I started seeing Magda's brother. I look it up, and Lazarus is Magda's brother. So he's going to be in this book. I don't think it's going to be in a positive way. Who knows? A lot of my characters, if there ends up being any energy or soul behind him, I'm sure he might be very layered. I don't know. Or he could be cardboard cutout, kind of like Herod was. I don't know. So we're just going to see. But I thought that was really interesting that how Lazarus just showed up. And moments like that, they just, I guess, reaffirm my faith in this wacky intuitive writing process that I have, where, trusting what I'm receiving and understanding that it's there for a reason and surrendering to it, even if I don't totally understand it. I didn't know that Lazarus was Mary's brother, but I kept seeing a brother, so I went with it. And when I found it, okay, so this story is somehow going to come into this next novel, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it all comes together. I'm excited. It's a discovery process for me too. So that brings us to the end of this episode. I'm about 25,000 words into the Book of Mary. I think it's going to be somewhere between 75 and 100. So let's just say I'm 25% of the way done. I've written the love story between Mary and Yahweh, and now I'm starting to work on Magda's thread. And I guess pretty soon I'll start seeing how Jesus is going to come in. And it's really interesting because book 1 had 3 point of view characters, right? We had Faye, we had Herodias, and we had John. And what I'm seeing is I think book 2 is going to mirror that. I think we're going to have, I know we're going to have Mary and Magda. And I'm 85% sure that there's going to be some point of view chapters from Jesus as well as he experiences his arc in this story. So it's interesting. The first one had 3, the second one had 3. And then I realized, that's really not so unusual because 3, the Holy Trinity, right? 3 is the number. And I did find it interesting that I had 2 females and a male in the last one, and it looks like this one's going to be 2 females and a male. And we're dealing with this, the power of 3. I can't tell you how often 33 shows up in my life all the time. And every time I see it, I'm just like, hey, hey guys, good, everything's good. This is great. Let's keep working together. Anyway, so that's where we are, and I'm excited to bring you more updates as they come. And again, if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, you can send me an email at hello@camillepicott.com. I know I've said in the past you can drop them in the comments, but I have to be honest, I have the best intentions and I completely forget to check the comments. Every once in a while I remember, and then I feel really bad because there'll have been a comment that's been sitting there for a month. So despite my best intentions, it's not something I've been able to get on any sort of regular to-do list. So yeah, if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, you can email me at hello@camillepicott.com, and I will do my best to work the answer into an upcoming show. Anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about next time. I have a feeling it's going to be Zombiness Invasion, because I've got some like super magical stuff happening with that series right now, and I'll tell you, there's days I wish there were two of me. I know, all the stories with doppelgangers, they never go well, but there's days when I wish I had a doppelganger because, I could write twice as fast. But, I'm only human. I can only do what I can do. So, yes, I just say thank you and I move on. Anyway, I hope everyone has a lovely week, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.